Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the show. I'm so excited that everyone is tuning in today. And if you're, not new to the show, I have amazing guests that have joined me here, and today is no exception to that. My guest today is unlike any other guest we've had on the show. Talk about experience and a story that you're going to hear. Well, my guest is a multiple business owner. He's a philanthropist. He's passionate about business. He's passionate about high performance, real estate, and what I really resonate with is giving back. He is a go-giver. Well, he's one of the country's top business, real estate, and peak performance luminaries for sure. He's built over 24 businesses in his 40-year business career, and several of these businesses have been worth tens of millions of dollars. And on top of that, my guest has owned over 2,000 properties. Well, he had humble beginnings as a young, impoverished Dutch immigrant to incredible success. His experience involved both remarkable triumphs, spectacular failures, which he, like myself, affectionately calls seminars that we had not planned on attending. Well, in the show today, what he's really known for is really digging into the psychology of success and mindset. He brings incredible authenticity, insight to his approach to business, real estate, and success. He also, as a part of the giving back of his world, he's founded the Tiny Hands Foundation, which has benefited more than 95,000 children in need. And with that, I want to welcome to the show, Rod Khleif. Rod, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Jay. Let's have some fun today.
We are going to have some fun today. You have got quite the story, Rod, of how in the world that someone such as yourself can, amass $50 million in real estate and go through losing all that in 2008 and 2009, and then have the mindset to come back after all that. So, Rod, you know your story better than I do and better than anybody else does. So tell us your story, Rod, and I'll interrupt when I see fit.
Sure. So, I'm going to go way back, Jay, because I think it'll lend some credence to, what we're going to talk about today. So I immigrated to this country when I was 6 years old with my mother's Vancia, my brother Albert, and I was born in the Netherlands, wooden shoes, windmills. And we ended up in Denver, Colorado. And we really struggled when we first got there. I remember eating expired food because my mom shopped at an expired food store, drinking powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because that's all we could afford. And trust me, it sounds better than it is. I remember, wearing clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school until I got a job when I was 14, so I could buy my own clothes and ultimately buy a car. And, I'm sure you've got listeners that had it harder than I did and maybe have it harder now with all this COVID nonsense. But, I knew I wanted more. And luckily, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And with her babysitting money, she actually became an entrepreneur. And so she invested in the stock market successfully. And she also invested in real estate. And the first real estate acquisition she made was the house directly across the street from us, from a family named the Jules. And when I was 14, and she paid about $30,000 for it. And when I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep. And I'm like, what? You made $20,000 and you didn't do anything? Screw college, Mom. I'm getting into real estate. So I went out and got my real estate broker's license right when I turned 18. Not just an agent. I was a broker. Back then, you could do that with education. Now they got smart. You need some experience before you can be a broker and have your own office. So I was going to be rich in real estate. Well, my first year in real estate, I made about $8,000. This is 1978. My second year, maybe $10,000. My third year, I made over $100,000, which back in 1980 was pretty decent change. So what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I met a guy. In fact, I dated his daughter that taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology and how really 80 to 90% of your success in anything is just that, your mindset and your psychology. If it was just the technical information we talk about on our show, I have a podcast as well. If it was just that, there'd be a bunch of wealthy librarians and college professors out there, right? It's the do and it's the keep doing. So fast forward to today, like you said, I've owned a couple thousand houses that I rented long-term. I've also owned and still own thousands of apartment units. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might be like, whoa. And I was like, whoa. And I got a head so big I could barely fit it through a door. I thought I was a freaking real estate god. Okay. And when that happens, when you get a big head like that, God will give you a nice little smackdown. Well, that was
That's
2008.
Right.
I lost $50 million in 2008 and 9, conservatively. And so, what I love talking about is the mindset it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place, but maybe as important, maybe even more important, the mindset it took you back to get back to the success that I'm blessed to have today. So we can go down that path if you'd like, or talk about anything else you'd like, Jay.
No, I want to go down that path. My audience is very, very interested in the mindset. They've heard me say 100 times, you're not going to own any real estate, or it's going to be very, very hard to own any real estate until you own the real estate that is between your ears, right? You got to be in control of that, as you just alluded to. So I would love to have that conversation. So why don't we start with this? First of all, let's go back to the beginning. Talk with us about what kind of mindset have you got to have, or the psychology of success that even gets you to excelling. And then after that, we can talk about how do you recover from losing it all. But take us back to how do you get there?
And they're actually the same, honestly, Jay. They're really the same. I make it sound like they're different, but they're really not. It starts with being very, very clear on what it is that you want and why you want it. And, like Napoleon Hill talks about in his book, Think and Grow Rich, you need to have a burning desire. You've got to really want it. And so, if you come to one of my boot camps, I do sold out live events around the country. In fact, I've got a big one coming up in Denver in July, but, about 1,000 people, I think. But the first thing we'll do for like an hour and a half will be goal setting on steroids, because how the heck are you going to get anything if you don't know what it is, right? You got to know what you want, and you have to know why you want it. And so, that's where you start. And so that's how I was able to that's one of the pieces that I utilized to have 50 million to lose. And then when I lost it all, it was reassociating with all of those things that I wanted. It's very easy when we have something negative happen to focus on the negative. In fact, we communicate through pain and negativity. If you came up to me and said, "Hey, Rod, how you doing?" And I said, "Oh my God, I'm freaking fantastic. Life is amazing." You take a few steps back and say, "Okay, Rod's off his meds." But if you came up and said, "Rod, how you doing?" And I said, "Oh God, my back is freaking killing me. And I just lost 10 grand in the market." You put your arm around me and say, "Oh, I feel you, brother. I feel you." See, we connect that way. And so, again, when I lost it all, it was reassociating with what I wanted and why I wanted it. And so, I'm happy to talk about that. I can describe that goal setting process, and I think it'll add value to your viewers and your listeners if you'd like, Jay. And just because it's a little unusual, it's not like just writing your goals down. And I can describe it fairly quickly if you're interested in me doing that.
Absolutely. Please do.
All right. So here's what you want to do, guys. Now, if you're listening or watching and you have the ability to take some notes, I would encourage you to do that. Now, I will also tell you, if you DM me on any social channel, I do this with music and a guide that you can download every year at the first of the year. I did it on January 1st this year on my Rod Khleif official Facebook page. But if you DM me on any social channel, I'll get you the link and I'll guide you through this. It's really well done. They've even got me on freaking TikTok now. Couldn't spell TikTok 4 months ago. But anyway, so any social channel. But let me describe it to you. If you don't want to spend an hour with me, that's fine. So what you want to do.
Hey, Rod, before you start, and in case somebody's got to jump off early, how about let's go ahead and give them your website and how to find you after the show.
Sure. Well, you can see how my name is spelled, and nobody can spell my name. So if you go to realestatewithrod.com, it goes to rodkhleif.com. So Real Estate with Rod, if you just remember that, that'll get you there. Okay. And all of my resources are there, and you can DM us there. You can send a contact form in, you can call us, whatever. And again, I'm on every single social media thing out there. Facebook, thank you. You're putting them up there for me. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Like I said, I couldn't spell TikTok. So it's all out there. So, but if you DM me, I'll hook you up. I'll just say, please send me the goal setting workshop and I'll send you the link. But anyway,
that's awesome. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah. So here, let's describe it. So what you want to do is pick an hour when you have a lot of energy. Make sure you're well hydrated. Don't do it right after a meal. and sit down and write down everything you could ever possibly want in life. All the stuff, the houses, the cars, the boats, the jet skis, the planes, all the stuff, write it down. And there's nothing wrong with stuff. And remember this, take the lid off your brain. Imagine if you write it down, you're going to get it, which is not outside the realm of reality, because just writing a goal down triggers something in your brain called your reticular activating system. And that's that subconscious filter. You're not aware of it consciously, but it's a subconscious filter that points you in the direction your brain thinks you're interested in. And so the greatest example of that at work would be when you first buy a car. You never really noticed the car before, but when you buy it, you see them everywhere. Were they there before? Of course they were. And that's your reticular activating system. The same thing applies to your goals. So write down all the stuff that you want. And again, don't limit yourself. If you want a private island, a jet, a yacht, write it down, because that's what starts the process. And then, write down how much cash flow you're going to have from your real estate investments, say in 3 years, and then again in 10 years. Write down how much, money you're going to have in the, hit the fan fund in the bank in 3 years and in 10 years. But write down all the stuff. And then when you can't think of another thing, write down everything you want to do in this lifetime, the places you want to travel, the things you want to do. Maybe you want to write a book. I've got a friend, climbing every mountain over 14,000 feet. I think he's almost done. I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane a few years ago. I'll never do it again, but it's off the list. Okay. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. So all the stuff you want to do as well. And then also write down everything you want to learn in this lifetime. So it's not just the stuff. It's everything you want to do, be, or have in your life. See, here's the sad reality. People spend more time planning a freaking birthday party than they do designing their lives. It's crazy. And so this is designing your life. So you're going to write down all the stuff you want. You're going to write down all the things you want to do. Also write down everything you want to learn. You want to learn a foreign language, write it down. You want to learn how to play an instrument? Me, I want to learn how to play the drums. If you want to learn multifamily real estate, for God's sakes, come spend 3 days with me in Denver. I've got that boot camp coming up the end of July. If you go to multifamilybootcamp.com, the tickets right now are $197, and it's 3 days of training, and it's not a sales pitch. It's total training for 3 days. So it's kind of a duh. It's a no-brainer if you're interested in multifamily real estate. And there'll be, like I said, be about 1,000 people there. They always sell out. But let me say this: if you happen to watch this or see this, and the price has gone up to I think it's going to go up to 700 ultimately. If that happens, if you DM me and tell me you saw me on Jay's show, we'll get you the 197 price. But anyway, so write down all the skills you want to learn. And then lastly, write down who you want to help. We will do more for others than we'll ever do for ourselves. And again, this is the fuel. This is what's going to get your butt up early in the morning, stay up late, work Saturdays, to do whatever you have to do, to grind for a few years like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't. Okay. So once you got who you're going to help, like I bought my parents a house here in Sarasota when my dad was alive, on a canal. I bought him a car, took him on cruises. Write down who you're going to do things for. All right. Once you can't think of another thing, there's a couple more steps. Write down how many years it's going to take you to achieve each one of those goals. And don't overthink it. I know if you're analytical, don't overthink it. And that, by the way, let me say, if you're analytical, don't stop and think about every goal you write down. Just write it down. You can always scratch them out later. Okay. Don't get caught up in the minutia. Just keep writing. And also, there's no perfection with this time limit, but to put a time limit on each goal, maybe put a 1, a 3, a 5, even a 10 or a 20 as to the number of years it's going to take you to achieve these goals. Recognizing that as human beings, we will overestimate what we can do in a year and massively underestimate what we can do in 5, 10, 20 years. In fact, I'll give you an example of this. Now, I'm going to give you some personal examples for me. Please know I'm not bragging. This stuff, I just want to inspire you. Okay. So this is not me. I don't need to show off. I'm way past, got that way out of my system. So, but this hopefully will inspire you. So back when I was 18, I knew I wanted to live on the beach. Okay. There's no beach in Denver, obviously. But I would visualize the sand, the surf, the palm trees, the waves. And 20 years later, I built this incredible $8 million, 10,000 square foot mansion on the beach. I had the beach on one side. I had my boats on the backside. It was called a Gulf to Bay. I had to slice through an island, and that was unthinkable when I was 18. So that's what I want to tell you. Take the lid off your brain and just write it down, your wildest dreams. So anyway, once you've got a time limit on each goal, pick your number one goal. I mean, that goal, when you get it, you're like, oh my God. I mean, that goal, that's the one you want, that you've arrived when you achieve that goal. Put that on a separate sheet of paper. Then I want you to pick your top 3 one-year goals. Put those on a separate sheet of paper. So you've got 4 goals. Leave some room in between them, okay? So you got 4 goals. Number 1 goal, top 3 1-year goals, separate sheet of paper. I'm going to tell you something, Jay, and those of you listening, at this point, you're ahead of 99.9% of the people on the planet that do New Year's resolutions that are forgotten by the middle of February. But there's a couple more quick steps. I want you to write down underneath each goal why it is an absolute freaking must for you to achieve it, okay? You have to achieve it, okay? And you want to use emotionally charged words. Words are very powerful. Words like amazing, incredible, beautiful, unbelievable. You might say, so I can show my kids what unbelievable success looks like. So I can show my husband or wife what it means to live a life of incredible abundance. So we can have complete freedom to do whatever we want, whenever we want, wherever we want, bring whoever we want, okay? Whatever's going to juice you, that's what you got to put underneath each one of those goals, because it's the why that's going to drive you, okay? Once you've got a good couple of sentences at least under each goal as to why it has to happen, I want you to put a little twist on it. I want you to put some pain in there if you don't achieve the goal. Okay, why? Because as human beings, we will do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. And again, this is the fuel. So you might say, so I don't fail my kids. So I don't fail my wife. So I don't live a life of regret. So I'm not a failure. So I don't live a life of regret. There was this nurse in Australia, Jay. Her name was Bronnie Ware. She was a hospice nurse. And so she took care of patients when they were about to die. And she asked them a question. You know what the question was? It was, do you have any regrets? And she wrote a book about it. It's called The 5 Regrets of Dying. You know what the number 1 regret was? Not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. I mean, you and I both know I can't think of anything worse than that, honestly. If you're watching Jay or you tune into a show regularly and you're afraid of failing, which is why you've not got busy investing in real estate, please fear regret much worse than that. I'm going to tell you, we fail our way to success. You mentioned I've started 24 businesses, actually 27. I recounted, but several been worth tens of millions of dollars, but most have been spectacular, flaming seminars. Okay. We fail our way to success. Right. And again, I call them seminars, like you said, because they're only a failure if you don't get back up, you don't get the lesson. I mean, when you're in real estate or you start a business or whatever, you're like an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur is like a shark. It only dies if it stops swimming, right? In fact, I got to meet the billionaire owner of Spanx, Sarah Blakely, the women's undergarments. It holds it all together. Started with $5,000 and. I think she just sold it for several billion, literally in the B billions. She's a beautiful human being, but I met her at a mastermind that I was in. And she told me that her dad used to ask her and her brother once a week, what have you failed at this week? Is that an awesome freaking question to ask your kids so they don't fear failure? So anyway, okay, so you got your positive and negative reasons why. Now you got to go out and get pictures, okay? Very important. If you saw in my room here, you'd see pictures of the things that interest me now. But let me share some examples of this. Jim Carrey's a great example, the actor, the comedian. Well, when he was flat broke, he wrote himself a check for $10 million. Okay. Flat broke. And he wrote it and he'd go up by the Hollywood sign. He'd visualize cashing it. That's how much money he made for Dumb and Dumber. More recent example, Demi Lovato, the singer. She posted in social media about 12 years ago, one day I'm going to sing the national anthem in the Super Bowl. Go, not this last one, the one before. Go see who sang the national anthem. I'll give you some personal examples for me. And again, I'm not bragging, okay? But hopefully these will inspire you. Just replace my examples with what you want. But, back when I was 18, I bought this 4-door car because I figured I had to have a 4-door car to show people houses, right? So I got this bone ugly Ford Granada, just a piece of you-know-what, bench seat in the front, just a, piece of crap. But the guy I was telling you about that taught me about mindset, he had 2 Corvettes and I was dating his daughter. So he let me drive one. And I'm like, oh my God. And so I got a picture out of a magazine of a Corvette. This is before you could spell internet. Nobody thought of the internet yet, but I got a picture out of a magazine. I put that on the visor of my Granada. So every time I sat in that car, it was right there in front of me. Within a year or two, I had a beautiful Corvette. Couple more car examples. I'm the guy. Well, back then there was a TV show, Magnum PI.
Oh yeah.
Tom Selleck in Hawaii, and he drove that Ferrari 308, red Ferrari. It's the first time I'd seen an exotic car. I'm like, oh my God, that thing's incredible. I got a picture of that actual car, put on the visor of my Corvette. Within a year or two, a Maserati looked just like it. Last example, I always loved Lamborghinis. I had pictures growing up. It was the Countach back in the day. But what's interesting is my son collected models of exotic cars. And when he was about 9 years old, he had models of Ferraris and McLarens and Porsches. And he had a model of the exact same color and style Lamborghini that I bought that I ended up wrecking. But in fact, let me show you something. You're going to do you put these on YouTube?
Oh yeah, you're on YouTube right now.
All right. Well, let me show you. That's right. We're going live. I forgot. This is my planner. Yeah, I'm a dinosaur. I use a paper planner. Okay. But in the back of this thing, I've got pictures that have been in here for 20 years. My kids are 26 and 30. These are my gratitude pictures. Okay. Everything starts from a place of gratitude, guys. To manifest anything you want in life through prayer or manifesting, you use gratitude. So again, these are my gratitude pictures. My kids when they were young. Okay. Then I've got, and these have been in here for 22 years, guys, okay? You see how dog-eared the tabs are and stuff. Literally 22 years I've had these in here. See, this top picture looks just like the house I built on the beach. I had 10-foot high glass like that, butt together, travertine floors just like that. It's before I built the house, okay? Now I lost that house and all the craziness, so now I live in a compound. I've got 6 buildings. I've got a beautiful main house. I've got a guest house on the water that's gorgeous. I've got a media building where I do my virtual events now. I've got a video studio there, exercise facility, and I mean, just spectacular. It's on 2 acres. And because God's got a sense of humor, I lost that house and all the craziness, the mansion I was telling you about, but it's right across the bay from me. I see it every day when I go in my backyard. It's literally right across the bay. But what's crazy is look at those bottom pictures. You guys see those white walls in those bottom pictures? Look behind me. This is my backyard at my compound. See the white wall? Is that crazy? And then, I've got stupid crap. I've got a few $100,000 worth of watches. That's actually still a vice. I will admit that. There's a Lamborghini. I actually got a black one, but that's before I ever got it. Rolls Royce, Bentley. Again, I got all this stuff because I had pictures. So get them around you. Use this, okay? And some of you analytical ones are like, oh, for God's sakes, get on with the real estate stuff. No, this is more important than the real estate stuff, okay? Trust me. This is I've got coaching students, and I'm real proud of something. I'm brag for a second. I've been teaching a little over 4 years. They now own somewhere between 60 and 70,000 units. And I'm super proud of that. Okay. And so, it's because they take action, and you've got to be able to push through fear, push through limiting beliefs. I'll give you an example of this. When I immigrated, I got thrown into school. I didn't speak English when I turned 6, and I found out what bullies were for the first time. So I got my butt kicked. I hadn't learned how to fight back yet. And I got my butt kicked on a regular basis. And then my mom, proud Dutch woman that she is, thought it'd be a great idea to send me to show and tell in wooden shoes and those leather shorts the Germans wear for Oktoberfest, the lederhosen. So I got my butt kicked again. And then bullies would chase me home, and my mom would chase them off with a fly swatter. So, I got my butt kicked the next day in school. And so, I came up with this belief system that I wasn't good enough. In fact, I used to ask myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? And, which presupposed obviously that I wasn't. And so that was a limiting belief system. But guys, here's what you need to remember. And many people have these. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm not smart enough. I'm not analytical enough. Or, I'm not good enough like mine. There's a reason that the acronym for belief systems is BS, because 99.9% of them are BS. But you've got to drag them out in the daylight. If they pop up for you, if you have some of these when they come out, drag them into the daylight, look at them with your adult rational mind, recognize that they're BS, and you can obliterate them. So it takes a little while. It's not going to happen the first time, but I used to be embarrassed to raise my hand in class, and now I speak in front of thousands of people a year. My podcast is pushing 13 million downloads, and I do live events, like I say, and so anyway. I'll land the plane here, Jay. I know I've rambled quite a bit. It took longer than I thought, actually. Sorry.
No, my friend. As a matter of fact, you haven't rambled at all. Okay. So I got a question, and that is, do you mind sharing what are some of your current whys now, or what's your big why now? And, and second question to that, have your whys changed over the years?
Oh, yeah. Great question. Awesome question. In fact, I think I've only been asked that once, and I've been interviewed dozens of times. In fact, a couple hundred times. So my why used to be the material crap. Okay. And again, that's why I want you to replace that stuff with what interests you. My why now is, let me show you something. I'll put my green screen up here for a minute, and you can see the wall behind me, and you'll see hundreds of thank you cards. You can see the thank you cards on the wall behind me there. Okay.
Nice.
From people whose lives have been impacted from my work. And that's one of my greatest gifts in life. Okay. And I'll tell you something else. It'll answer your question as well, Jay. So back, I built that house on the beach. I worked for that thing for 20 freaking years. Okay. 2 months after I moved in, 20 years, 2 months. 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in the pool at night. I'm looking at this testament to my ego, okay, which is really what it was. It was to prove the world I was good enough. And this house was magnificent, okay? I mean, just a giant waterfall from the second floor balcony into the pool. You had to walk through the waterfall to get the pool. Pool's in magazines. Big spiral staircase up through the middle, elevator, wine cellar. On the second floor, I had an aquarium built around the staircase. Cost me almost $200,000. So this gives you an idea of the house. So I worked for it for 20 years. 2 months after I moved in, I'm looking up at this thing and I got depressed. And I don't mean just a little depressed. I mean, I got really depressed. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I've just achieved a success like times 10,000. I had the Maserati, the Mercedes in the garage and the boats and the jet skis, beautiful family in the house. Well, here's what was going on. Number one is it's never about the goals. You need the goals, to keep you going and create that burning desire. But they say the happiest days of a boat owner's life, the day they buy the boat, the day they sell the boat. It's not about the goals. It's about progress and growth. Progress and growth is what makes you happy. But you need a vision for the future. Like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. I didn't know what I was going to do next. So I had no vision for the future. So that was the second thing. But the third big one was I'd been totally focused on Rod. Show the world I matter. Show the world I'm good enough, blah, blah, blah. Well, I went and saw Tony Robbins that year. I was like, I got to get back. I got to get my mojo back because it was really not good. And I found out that he fed families for the holidays. And I'm like, what a concept. Do something for someone else. I'm embarrassed to say I had to be 40 to get that memo. So I called my brother because I was going to go visit him for Thanksgiving in Denver because I was already living in Florida. And I said, dude, let's feed 5 families. So he went to his church, found 5 families who really needed help. And we bought turkey and food and toys for their kids if they had them. And the third family changed my life, Jay. I go up to this row house. I mean, it was a piece of crap row house. It wasn't even a 1-bedroom. You had to walk through the bedroom to get to the kitchen, which had the bathroom off of it. There's a woman in there with 5 kids. She comes out. She sees this stuff on the porch. She starts crying. Her kids come out. 2 of the older ones start crying. I start crying. And I'm hooked. And you mentioned in my bio, 95,000. I've actually, in the last 22 years, we fed over 110,000 children for the holidays.
That's wonderful.
We've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies for local kids that don't have the school supplies. Don't get me started on the fact we live in the greatest country on earth and we have to do that. I've given tens of thousands of teddy bears to local police departments for officers to keep in their vehicles and they encounter a child that's been traumatized. And here's the message here. I'm not bragging again. I want to give you, those of you listening, a message here. We've been taught, and this was my mindset, was I needed to achieve to be happy, okay? That I couldn't be happy until I'd achieved, right? That's what I thought. I'm going to tell you, when you incorporate giving back in any fashion, you're happily achieving. Now, I know that's a play on words, but it's an important one. Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. I had achieved, and achievement really is a science. If you want to learn multifamily, I'll give you the freaking blueprint. You just have to go do it. It's a science. But fulfillment really is an art because you got to figure out what juices you. For me, it's kids. Maybe it's the elderly. Maybe it's animals. Maybe it's the environment. Whatever it is, do something right now if you're not already to give back to that, because that will juice you and you'll be passionate. And I'm going to tell you, the success will come faster. If you tell me, yeah, I'll do it when I have money, big mistake. Because if you give back, not only will you be happily achieving, you'll be fulfilled and the money will come faster. Again, you don't do it for that reason, but trust me, that's how God, the universe, whatever you believe works. So anyway, long answer to your question.
Yeah, you did. Rod, you remind me of one of my most recent favorite books that I have read, and I'm sure you have as well because of where your heart is these days, and that is The Go-Giver.
Oh,
The Go-Giver. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I think there's a series of 4 of those books now, but the original one in red is still my favorite. The author's name escapes me right now, but anybody interested in that, you can get it on Amazon easy enough. Rod, my lands, I told everybody at the beginning I'd never had a guest on here before, and you have proven me correct. I've never had a guest like you on here before, and how inspiring you are. One more time, Rod, let everybody know how they can connect with you.
Sure. Well, for a short while, for not about, I don't know when this, well, it's live right now, actually. If you text my name, Rod, to 72345, they'll send you the information on my bootcamp that's coming up. That number is going to expire in about a month and a half from now. So when it's on iTunes, it'll expire at the end of May. But if you text, for time being, text Rod to 72345, you can still get, we'll send you the website back for that. It's multifamilybootcamp.com. But if you go to Real Estate with Rod, if you're interested in you are obviously interested in real estate, if you're listening to Jay here, go to realestatewithrod.com, and I've got tons of videos, articles, free books, and just a lot of incredible, valuable information there that'll help you on your journey. So, and shout out to your team, Jay, that throwing stuff up on the screen here. That's so impressive. I can't wait to show this to my team, the incredible quality of your production here, my friend.
Absolutely. Well, and I appreciate that. I work with a fantastic team that makes all this happen, and we'll be starting our 5th year of my podcast this coming June. Nice. So it's really exciting. Rod, thank you so much for joining me.
A pleasure to meet you, my friend. I hope we can do it again sometime. We can talk real estate, maybe. Wouldn't that be sometime?
There you go. Well, there you have it, folks. Another episode, another amazing episode. And we really appreciate the subscribes. We appreciate the 5-star reviews. Like, share, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube right now, be sure and ring that bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes that we have coming along. And again, we really appreciate the 5-star reviews. So thank you for joining us. I'm Jay Connor, the Private Money Authority, wishing you all the best. Here's to taking your business to the next level, and we'll see you right here on the next show. All right, amazing, Rod, amazing. And
thanks, buddy.
Yeah, and Sharub, I don't think I need to record another intro because I think Rod delivered exactly what we said in the original intro. So I think we're good on that, Sharub.